Okay, so my name is Tobi Rachel Akingbade, and I'm here to talk about Storytime, which is essentially a session about Instagram. So I've been given the honor of talking about Instagram for 40 minutes. For many of us, we use Instagram much longer than that. Some of us, we have no clue how to use Instagram stories. So this is going to be a breakout session that covers all grounds. So Instagram made the social story the concept famous, although it did start with Snapchat. The focus is generally on Instagram nowadays. Awesome. So Instagram stories, what is it? So in August 2016, I was one of the few people, or many people actually, millions of people, who saw that Instagram had an update and got very, very excited and started using Instagram stories, which is essentially something that Snapchat started up with. Videos or pictures that you can put up for about 24 hours. So just for me to get the gauge of the room, who here is here to understand more about Instagram stories for themselves? So a personal thing. Okay, awesome. And who is here to understand Instagram better for maybe a business? Okay. And for your church or ministry? Okay, so everyone's here for similar reasons. Okay, that's very, very good. Awesome. So, as I said, Instagram did the unthinkable. And the visual social platform basically became, as I said before, very, very direct competitors to Snapchat. Does anyone here use Snapchat stories? The Snapchat basically, nobody. Oh, one person, okay. Okay, three people. So as you can see, Snapchat is really for Gen Z, which is like my youngest sister's generation. They like to use it because they love, so basically studies have shown that Gen Z are very, very private, but they still want to communicate in post, and Snapchat has this thing where everything disappears, but Instagram, you can put your highlights, and we will talk a lot about that as we go on. So furthermore, regarding Instagram stories, so as I said before, as I just said, Instagram has surpassed Snapchat in daily active users. I know a lot of you guys are here for the 3 reasons that I mentioned, so you can use it for your personal brand, for anything really, if you want to be an influencer, or if you're really just like some of my friends who are literally just positioning themselves so their Boaz can find them. And it's true, I feel like some of you guys put your hand up for that reason. You can use your Instagram stories for that, either for your office or your business, just so people can see the behind the scenes of what your workplace is doing, or even your church or ministry if you're trying to bring more people into the ministry. Instagram stories is great because you don't really need to put that much work into it. You can, but if you just want to start up and experiment, you can start off with that. You can literally pick up your phone and use the camera on your phone, or you can go harder and get a DSLR camera, upload it onto your phone and all of that jazz. So why Instagram stories versus posts? As many of you guys will know, Instagram started off with the post. It was a picture sharing site. Then it became, they added videos, which were about 15 seconds. Now you have 10-minute videos, and you have Instagram. You've got the videos and Instagram Live. But Instagram stories is quite different because they only last for 24 hours. So why that? So Instagram posts are discoverable. So a lot of people have not been paying attention to the use of their Instagram stories and focusing more on posts because they think, oh, 24 hours, it's going to go, it's not very important. With Instagram algorithms and the current shadow bans, which basically in short means that a lot of people's posts are not being seen. Instagram is misbehaving at the moment. Influencers are quite upset with how things are going. So you may post something, your ministry or your church or business might be posting things and people are actually not seeing it. So you can have 10,000 followers and maybe 10 likes. The numbers don't add up. With Instagram stories, there's a more chance for your content that you're putting out there to not be missed. So as I said, it's not all bad. The best part of Instagram stories is that you're continually engaging with your audience, so you have an opportunity for people to see things better. So there's a trick that I like to use when I post, even if it's just a picture of myself. A bit of background before I go into that. I manage social media accounts for the likes of the Metro, the Evening Standard. I'm also a journalist and a podcaster. And I also am in the media team at my church. So I use Instagram stories for all of those different things every day. And I have noticed that if I post a picture and I put it into my stories and then I kind of like hide a bit of the post inside the story, and there's a little GIF that you can have on the Instagram story called new post, do that. You see a lot of influencers doing that. It actually ups their engagement. It's proven, do it, and it will improve engagement, improve the likes that you get on a post, and it just means that more people see the fun scriptures that you're posting. So let's look at the stats. So as of 2018, there were more than 400 million daily active Instagram story users. I did ask you guys why you are here, but I want to know who actually right now uses Instagram stories on a daily basis. Okay, less than the people who want to know more. So that's good. You're in the right place. So Instagram stories, as I've said, is discoverable, and I will repeat that for this entire session so you do not forget. You can add hashtags, very, very important. Try and find out, so for example, as of today, some of the most popular hashtags are mood and happy. So hashtag mood, hashtag happy, very, very popular. People, for some reason, wake up in the morning and search the hashtag mood. If it is relevant to your content, use it. If you're trying to figure out, if you've got a cookie business, you can just literally go on Google and Google the most popular hashtags for cookies on that day and then use it. Change up your hashtags. Don't use the same tired hashtags because trends change on a daily basis. So at least once a week, try and figure out what hashtags you should use. And for anyone who doesn't know what hashtags are, you can literally put it in the post and your users can click on it. And when they do click on it, Instagram collates all the different stories and posts with that hashtag. So if a huge brand like Lego, for example, they're very popular on Instagram, believe it or not. If Lego has put up a hashtag that you have used, then users will then discover your post on Instagram stories more than they would in on Instagram posts. Use mentions as well. So tag other people in your post. A fun trick that I like to do for for the ministry, that ministry that I'm part of, or even just for the podcast that I'm promoting, what I would do is I would tag myself in the post. So I have more followers than my business, and that tends to happen for a lot of people who have small businesses and you're just starting your Instagram page, maybe just 10 people have followed, which is natural, and you want that organic growth. So tag yourself in the post. If you don't want to make it blatant that you've tagged yourself, you can literally make the text so small that no one knows you've tagged yourself in that post. And I do that very often so that I can then repost it onto my page. Once you've reposted it onto your page, your followers, you may already, because you got Instagram in 2012, you might have 10,000 followers, you can have 1,000 followers. Your followers will see that repost naturally, organically, and they'll be like, what's that? And then they will click on it. Granted, you have engaging content, of course. So yes, that's how other people can find fun tricks. I spoke about Gen Z. Gen Z, people always have debates on what Gen Z is. I'm a millennial, so it's the generation below me. They're the kids who are they were born on the internet. Technically, they were just born on the internet. Unlike millennials who grew with the internet, Gen Z, people consider them to always be on their phone, and millennials actively seek stories of products and services they're considering buying, which is very, very true. I love makeup, so when I'm in a shop and I see that, for example, I'll give an example, I'll see that Rimmel have got a new product. I don't really want to buy the product unless I've seen that other influencers have actually used it and they have spoken about said product. So I will go on Instagram and search the product name, and people will do that for ministry. Some people would search church. If on a Sunday morning they're like, you know what, I feel like I need to go to church. People search on Instagram almost as much as they do on Google to look for things, because they want to see people's opinions, they want to see activity. I know a lot of my friends have said before they started going to a church, they actually checked out the church on Instagram and to see what they were posting. It's the way that the world is going, whether we like it or not. So the average rate for Instagram stories is around 7.2% of you are using it, and it's a lot higher with people with a concentrated strategy. So we are going to talk about just having a strategy rather than just being like, I'm going to post. And if you're not naturally if you're not, just not very natural with social media, it would help to have a strategy. It would help to, and it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It will just be that you thought through what you are going to post on that day. Okay, we're going to look at a few case studies. I'm going to try and not go too quickly for those of you taking notes. I can see people like really struggling to take notes, so I'm going to try and slow down for you guys. So according to 99 firms, they looked at 30 studies, and they have said, these are really important statistics, so I can prove to you why Instagram stories. So the number of active daily users is 300 million. Some of you guys are in the room. And the average spent by users is 28 minutes. Also, I just want to get a gauge of the room as well. Who thinks that they spend about 10 minutes a day on Instagram? Or more than 10 minutes a day on Instagram? Okay, there we go. More than half an hour? Okay. Okay, and don't be embarrassed when I say the next one, more than an hour. Be honest, guys. Be honest. You know that your iPhone tells you how long you spend on these apps, so be very honest. I checked mine, but I do this for a living before I tell you guys how long I spend on Instagram. Mine was 4.5 hours, and I was like, I think I need to pray and fast about that. But again, like I said, it is what I do for a living. But actually having a look, a lot of people actually spend as much time as I do on Instagram, and I can assume that it's not something they do for a living. Okay, so over 50% of businesses are on Instagram and have made an Instagram story. You should too. I do think it should be 100%. If you have a business, be on Instagram. As I mentioned, my love for makeup earlier on, the makeup industry has really utilized Instagram, has really utilized influencers. If a huge influencer, like I will name names like Patricia Bright, who's in the UK, or Jackie Aina, who's in America, if they aren't promoting a makeup brand, chances are people aren't going to buy it. So Instagram is what people are using to promote their products. And even to get people into coming into their church. Some people actually check on Instagram to see what times the services of churches are. You know, if you go to a big church, sometimes they change it. I know there's a big church in the UK who do that. They may change their location. People find out on Instagram. So over 1/3 of Instagram users use Instagram stories every day, with 1 million active advertisers have access to these stories. And 20% of stories posted by businesses result in direct interaction with the user. So as mentioned before, Instagram stories is a great way to open a new pathway for increased engagement and brand awareness. Okay, so we mentioned hashtags, and we have mentioned already mentions and public access. This might sound like a very obvious thing to say, but make sure your pages are public. The amount of times I've been tagged in a new business, on their Instagram, or whether it's a post or a story, and it's private, and if I don't follow them, I can't see what you're promoting. And it does sound like an obvious thing to say, but I have seen countless of times while consulting that people have made their pages private. And their theory behind that is, oh, we don't want people to see too much of what we do. But essentially, that's why you are on Instagram, so people can see what you do. I understand if it's a personal page, then of course you might want to keep that private. But I know it sounds like, it sounds like maybe teaching someone how to suck eggs, but honestly, make your pages public. Instagram stories can also add a personal touch to how you engage with your audience. Especially with influencers who have basically one Instagram, a lot of the reasons why people follow them is to get an insight into who they are. And it's the same that you can do with a small business, a large business, and you can definitely do that with your ministry, your church, or for your personal brand. Like I said, if you're out there trying to, market yourself for a Boaz, it's the perfect way to show people who you are and what you are about. Businesses have definitely boosted engagement by nearly 20% by hosting an employee or influencer on their Instagram for a few days. So, for example, I know of a brand who I won't name who have done really well with this. They will get a employee to just take over the Instagram. So a day in the life of, let's say I'm the employee, a day in the life of Tobi, I will then have the company's Instagram on my phone, and I will show them what I'm like as an employee. You can do that also for a church or ministry. So, for example, I know of my sister's church, actually, what they would do is on a Sunday, they would see what is the worship leader's day like on a Sunday. And I found that I don't go to my sister's church, but I was there watching, like very intrigued on how does this worship leader go about her day? What does she do whilst the service is on? What does she do in between services? Obviously, you don't want overexposure. And like I said, with strategy, if you are head of your media team at church, go over the ground rules of what you can and can't post, and yeah, just ground rules, so it's a safe bet. You don't do anything you shouldn't do online, because I wouldn't need to tell you guys about the amount of times people have posted things online and they thought it was a great idea, but they were just dragged right across the timeline. So yes, with public access, and yes, people love a personal brand, so remember that as well, because if you're just doing the same thing as if you're doing the exact same things as other platforms or other pages, then people are less likely to watch your stories because they've seen the exact same thing in another story. And you can only be unique if you're authentic as well, so just keep it very, very real. That is the key. Okay, so when is the best time to post on Instagram stories? I'm going to ask everyone in here, do you guys think it's 7 a.m.? Hands up if you think it's around 7 a.m., best time to post on Instagram stories. 9 a.m.? Someone did this? Okay, someone did that. Okay. How about 10 a.m.? No, no. Oh, one person. Cool. Okay. How about midday? Okay, more people. I'm going to skip an hour. How about 2 p.m.? Okay, about 3 or 4 people. I'm going to skip a few hours. How about 5 p.m.? A lot of you guys think 5 p.m. I wonder why you think that. What did you say? Okay, yes, so rush hour time, 5 p.m., okay. 6 p.m.? Okay. How about I'm going to skip a few hours. How about when you're having your dinner at 9 p.m.? Okay, a lot more people. 10 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. No hands for 2 a.m. You guys are holy. You sleep at night. That's amazing. Okay, when is the best time to post on Instagram stories? There is no best time to post on Instagram stories because they're visible for 24 hours. So remember that, guys. You can actually post whenever you want because the stories are visible for 24 hours. Instagram has updated as well in the last year or so. No, in fact, it's been about 2 years now where you can actually put your stories at the top of a page as highlights. Just be very, very clever in how you do that. Group your stories. For example, I know food businesses that would group their stories with content like cake, because all the cake posts is in one little group. Churches I've seen have done praise and worship posts all in one group, announcement stuff all in one group in the highlight section. But there is a trick to posting all day, every day. So with Instagram stories, it is good if you post at least twice a day. At least twice a day, because with the algorithms, if you're not really posting a lot, with some of you guys who have Instagram on your phone, when you see people's stories, or account stories I should say, when you see at the top, people who post less and who you watch their stories less will be all the way at the other end, and you're less likely to scroll, because once you've watched the top account on your feed, they may have done 10 posts, and you've watched another, they've done 30. I know one influencer does about 40 posts. It's quite annoying, 40 posts, so we will talk about that. Too many posts is just a no-go area unless you're very engaging. By the time people have gone through that, I'm tired. You know, my train's gone under a tunnel, and I'm not going to watch every single story that every single person I follow has posted. So you can beat the algorithm by posting a lot more. It won't happen overnight, so you have to be consistent, perseverance, doing that for a couple of months, at least twice a day. And as you guys can see, it is good to at least do post 10 to 14 hours apart between the last and first post. But remember, obviously, there is no best time to post. Sorry for the tricking you guys and making you go through all the times. Just wanted to get my point across. Best tactics on posting well. You will figure out the best tactics to post for yourself, for your company. You will be able to, I will talk later about monitoring your engagements, but every account has their own vices, has their own tactics. I would say it's almost like raising a child. Actually, it's very much like raising a child. I don't have children myself, but I've watched people raise children, where one thing that you would do for one child is not what you do for another, and one way that one person parents is not the way another person will parent. You have to figure it out on yourself. Let your account teach you how to post, just like how I've heard many times where people say they actually let their children teach them how to parent. So on Instagram, you have features, the polls. I love using polls because it gets people riled up, asking questions, and you can change it to yes or no. You can edit it to, so the other day I asked on my podcast page, I asked people, just to get them all riled up really, I was like, do you believe that Will Smith has had an Oscar-worthy role in the last 10 years? And people were like, what kind of question is that? And people started debating on that. It was yes or no. The no was the winner, if anyone was wondering. And then also open-ended questions, and that's really, really cool as well. So you can, there's a feature on Instagram that I know people use. I've watched people use it just because they love engaging with their friends, but it works wonderfully for a business, for a church, and even for a personal brand, where you ask questions that people then type in answers, and the trick is to then share those answers. As I say, share the answers. Please do conceal the names and the accounts of the answers you share. It's a pet peeve of mine where I have answered a question that someone has asked. They have screenshotted it, which they're allowed to do, and reposted, which they're allowed to do, but they left my name and face on the thing. I was like, that was personal. So just conceal, get the little white marker pen and conceal. It's just etiquette, it's social media etiquette, because I've decided I'm never answering that person's question ever again, and you don't want your followers to decide they will never engage with you ever again. Quiz questions as well, they're really fun because people get frustrated when they get the questions wrong. Instagram features, when they do the quiz questions, it tends to like shake when you get it wrong, and it's we all know that psychologists have actually are the ones who have made Instagram, and it's really frustrating. So it's quite fun. It's like playing a game and not winning and going back again. So play around with the quiz sections. Now you can share links, so the whole point is you want your stories to be engaging, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are here because you want your stories to be engaging, because you want them to, you want the destination to be to a website, to an online website. You can share a link on your post if you have over 10,000 followers, so grow your page. But if you don't have over 10,000 followers, like on my personal page, I don't have over 10,000 followers, and I would just literally use the lovely 3 words that people always say, link in bio. So put your link in your bio and encourage people to go there, but your stories have to be engaging to actually get people to click on the link in the bio. And you might have multiple links that you want to share, so there's a platform called Linktree that you can use which allows you to put multiple links on there. Also use the music and Spotify plugin. A lot of people find that fun because I don't know if anyone's anything like me, but when I hear a song that I don't know, I want to know the song. So people who do post the music plugins and stuff like that, it's information that that I didn't have before, and people love finding out things that they didn't know before. And I'm more likely to go back to someone's page because they're sharing something that I had never seen before or never heard before. So that is, don't ignore that. And we spoke about highlights earlier. make use of your highlights, because there have been many times when I've watched a story on maybe an influencer's page and they spoke, and I'm talking about makeup again, and I know there's more to my life than makeup, I promise, but makeup is honestly a really great way to highlight how influential Instagram is. But with the highlights page, there could be times where I've seen someone post something, maybe I saw an hour ago and I was busy, but it was at the 23-hour stage, and as we know, there's 24 hours on Instagram, so I may have missed it. If you think a content is a piece of a story is very, very important, it had information, do put it in your highlights for your users, because they will check. So if you're putting your service times or a change service time in your story, put it in the highlights, because that's important information. You do have to use your discernment, because you can't put everything in highlights, otherwise then again that's overload of information and it can be frustrating for some of us, me especially. Also, okay, where do stories take users? So I'm sure a lot of you, like I said before, you want your stories to take users somewhere. So 59% of users end up on shoppable pages, which is great for small business owners, even large business owners. People like Gucci, they are counted in the statistic. So 23% of other social media platforms. So if your ministry, your church, your personal brand, you want to get them to go to Twitter, you can do that with good strategy. 10% to a blog post, like I said, with the link in bio, but the content has to be engaging. And I think the key for engaging content is to just be very, very authentic. And 5% campaign page. Right now, I'm in the middle of doing a campaign for my ministry. We're going to Kenya, so there's a GoFundMe page, and I will talk more about that later on. But campaign pages do really work. Like, I'm very passionate about the ministry trip to Kenya, and using my main strategy for getting my friends and family and people outside of that circle to donate for the orphans that we're going to be helping in Kenya is through campaign pages. And I know it says 5%, but it's still a very, very important percentage. And 3% to other apps, including Instagram, so you can lead people to your own content. Like I said, you can share your posts or other people's posts, but I'm sure a lot of you guys are here to talk about yourself, to think about yourself, so you can share your own posts in your story. Okay, and so the type of stories that work the best. Product promotion, an inside look. As I mentioned before, things like showing people the behind the scenes of the praise and worship team. I'm going to name drop a church that I saw do this last Sunday, actually, and I thought it worked really, really well. I hope they have it in their highlights so you guys can check it out. Anyone heard of Pastor Mike Todd here? Yes, so they have a great social media strategy, and I was very, very intrigued. I complained just now about really long stories, but I sat down and watched this entire story because it was engaging, and they just did their behind the scenes. Like, someone filmed Pastor Mike Todd as he went in between services and the little things that he does in between, and I found it interesting that he watches a service from another church in between his preaching, or in fact he didn't even preach that Sunday, so it was just really cool. Like, I sat there in bed watching it. I don't even attend the church, never even been to the state where he preaches, but I felt like I was there. Live events, influencer takeover, we did speak about that as well, which could, in your business, could actually be an employee. I've used the example of a cake business. There are cake influencers these days. You know, there are influencers for anything and everything. Find them. You can find them through the hashtags, as I mentioned before. That's how I find people. That's how you find your tribe, so to speak. Fan content. Share feedback. Share what people are posting at church. For my church ministry, I reshare when people at church tag my church account, and I just reshare it. Like, people are talking about how amazing Sunday was, so I reshare that because a lot of people would share their testimonies, and I do believe that blesses people. I know we have been speaking a lot about how to get customers and stuff like that, but with churches, it is. I have found. In fact, I started going to that church because I saw a lot of the testimonies, and that's now my home church. And then contests as well. Everybody loves to win. Facts to remember. Okay, so this is a pet peeve of mine. When people film, I've got my phone out. When people film and post like this, there's no need for that because on a phone like this, most people hold their phones like this. I've never seen anyone walk down the street like this trying to text their friends. No, I bet a lot of you. Well, actually, I want to find out. Does anyone text like this? Thank God. It's normal to text like this. So why post and film like this? So please film like this. It's a pet. You think it's simple, but I've watched many stories where people film like this. So then the video, like you can see all my notifications. But so then the video is this, and I have 20/20 vision because of the help of contact lenses, but I still can't see anything. So I'm there and I'm done. You can skip. It takes less than a second to skip stories if you want to keep people, if you want to win souls and stuff like that. There will be time for questions in 1 second. Yeah. So what was I saying? Yes, please film properly. Film as you will hold your phone. We have mentioned the links as well, but just facts to remember, 15% to 25% of viewers swipe up to follow a link and engage with the brand website. Brand can also be replaced with church. And you can also do a link in bio trick. I've mentioned that, but please don't forget, because I know a lot of people feel disheartened because they don't have 10,000 followers and therefore they don't have the little swipe to link thing, but link in bio really works. I've checked the statistics and it really, really works. That's the amount of users that have engaged with businesses. That's 120 million through Instagram ads. If you do want to do sponsored ads, you can. It's very, very simple. On the settings side on Instagram, you can do sponsored ad. It does cost money. Geotagging, I'm going to go through this a little bit quickly because I know there's some questions. 79% of people geotag. For example, I'm here now. I'm very, I normally don't, I put geotag, sorry, but I would put it after I've left an event so people can't find me. So I know people are like, oh, I don't want to geotag because I don't want people to stalk me or find me or anything like that. If you are worried about that, geotag after you've left a location. Reason why I say that, because you get 79% more of engagement through that. Fun fact, top locations on geotags are Jakarta, Indonesia. If you're ever there, make use of that location geotag. If you're ever in Brazil, if you're ever in New York, and fun fact, London. So London has one of the highest locations for geotagging. You have the resources by just being in London. Geotag in London and Madrid, Spain. How to monitor your engagement, download Later. It's called Later. Download Later, and you can play around and look at your analytics and see what works for you. Like I said, trying to find out what works for your child. Treat your Instagram stories as a child. You can find out when your users prefer to see things. But remember, the best time to post is anytime. You can do it on Instagram, by the way, if you have a business account, and you can set up your business account yourself if you've linked it to a Facebook page. But Instagram only lets you see those statistics for 2 weeks. So download Later because you can see up to 3 months worth of Instagram stories. Fun but useful tricks. As I said before, tag yourself and your team. If you don't want everyone to know you've done that, make the text really small or put it behind a sticker or GIF so that people can repost easily. Use filters. Filters may seem childish, but actually filters increase engagement because you're using the features of Instagram a lot more. It's a fun thing that Instagram like to do. The more you use their features and stickers, the more engagement you will get. It's really unfair, but they're a business. So yes, keep an eye on new features because the more you use your account, the quicker your account will get the newer features. So just use the features a lot more, and then when you do get new features, so for example, I received a new feature way before my friends, and everyone was jealous, and I just had more people watching my stories because they wanted the features. Humans are weird, but it works. And as I mentioned before, popular stickers, location, digital time sticker. So put the timestamp on there, the like button, which is a sticker, because literally psychologists, like I said, they create social media. And for some reason, as humans, we love the like button. So just put the like button in your story. You'll see what it will do for you. Hashtag button, like I mentioned. And bizarrely, the temperature button, but I think it's because we're in the UK and we're obsessed with the weather and when it becomes hot. So when it is hot, when it's like 35 degrees, degrees, put the temperature button, even if it's not relevant, because people, oh my God, it's 35 degrees, you get more engagement. Like I said, as humans, we are very strange. And yeah, promote things that they won't see anywhere else, like even Instagram Live your church, even church services, even if you have a live stream on YouTube or anything like that. Additional apps to use. I'm going to leave this up later when we do the questions. There are quite a lot on this list. This thing's not working. Okay, there we go. So these are additional apps that I use that you can use with Instagram. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to allow you guys to take a picture of it. So I'll give you guys a moment to take a picture of it. So Mojo, that's my favorite that I use. A lot of people ask me how I make my Instagram videos animated and cool. It looks a lot like, I don't know if you guys watch so I work for a news publication, and a lot of news publications use this to kind of make their stories look like news bulletins, and there's many different options on Mojo. Like if you take one of these additional apps, use Mojo, I swear by it. Unfold is really good. It's like a minimal look, which is what I use for my personal page when I remember. And then A Beautiful Mess is also really good, but all of these ones, they are pretty cool. These are also further apps that you can use in addition. I'll allow you guys to take a picture of that as well. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. People still got their phones up. I don't want to be mean. Okay, last phone. Good. Who to follow for inspiration. I'll allow you guys to take a picture. The clicker is not working. Okay. So even if you don't have businesses like these, you can get inspiration from the likes of Whole Foods. The Guardian newspaper have a really, really good Instagram story section. I actually found out that my cousin was in the Guardian before he was able to tell me, because I saw it on their stories. Sephora, which is not in the UK technically. Melissa Wardrope, who's a influencer. Lego, as I mentioned before. Some of you guys will be like, Lego? But honestly, Lego is a game that's been around for so long. How on earth are they still selling Legos? Instagram. Mercedes-Benz, they barely do adverts, but they're great on Instagram. People are still out there buying Mercedes-Benz. Monzo, very, very good on Instagram. Kylie Jenner, goes without speaking. You may not believe in what she believes in, but Kylie has built her billion empire on Instagram. McDonald's in Malaysia increased their sales in stores by three times, and 60% of targeted millennials were reached after they used playful animated video on Instagram. You'll be like, what? Like McDonald's, they don't need help. They really needed help in Malaysia to be able to survive in Asia, and they use Instagram to do so. E-news as well. They're obviously like showbiz news is a very competitive place, but e-news, they're winning on Instagram stories. And a final note, there is a lot of room for experimentation and figuring out what works best for your brand, something that I've been repeating throughout this session. And be real. Be very real. If you're trying too hard to be something that you're not, people will see, and literally, like I said, it takes less than a second to just skip and never watch that account ever again. So we have not that much time for questions. So I know there was someone who had a question a minute ago. Sir? Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, so you do make a good point. You make a very good point. So if you do have content that is square, so as I said, when you get a post and you put it into the story, what I tend to do, and thank you for reminding me, I will try and fill up the area at the top and the bottom with text, because sometimes you would need text to explain what that picture is about. So there is a leeway to doing that. There is an acceptable way to doing that, and that is also personal preference as well. Every user has their own preferences, so it's trying to see what your audience engage with a lot more by downloading things like later to see, did they like that or did they not like when I did it like that or like that. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you. With the post, yeah. I take advantage of that because filling up your feed continuously, you can mess up the algorithm with posts. So I would post up to 10 pictures if it's necessary, and then you can individually post each post in your Instagram stories. So if you slide across the post, then hit the share button, then you can post that one, slide again, post that one. So it's more acceptable to do like 10 times in a story than 10 times on your feed in a post. Yeah. Any other question? Sorry, I saw it, and then I'll get back to you. Yeah. I Okay, yeah, for anyone who didn't hear IGTV, which one should you use? Yeah, so I think both. So obviously for this session, it was more about stories, yeah. But I think with IGTV, a lot of people don't have long content videos. So maybe for people who are Instagram actors, they're more likely to put loads of videos. If you want to put a section of your sermon, you would use it on IGTV, and then you can post your IGTV onto Instagram stories. Yeah. And I saw a question here, sorry.
Thank you very much for that. Really, really learned so much here. My question is, you didn't mention anything about charities. I run a charity. We have projects in Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And how do I make the page so fashionable? And you mentioned something about the GoFundMe. I never knew that I could do that on Instagram as well. The third one, you might help me after everything.
Yeah, sure.
I tried to set up the Instagram, which is why I'm in this session,
Yeah.
for to link up with our page
Yeah.
on Facebook. It's there, but it's not. It doesn't allow me to post anything.
Right, yeah.
So I'm like,
I think for that, I would have to speak to you. Like, I'm happy to speak to you afterwards, and I'm happy to speak to anyone afterwards as well. I do know we have run out of time, but quickly, for if you do have a charity, you can still treat it as a ministry. You can still think about everything that I have said and treat it like a business. Obviously, your strategy as a business. Obviously, your business is not a business; it's a charity. But when you're putting it online, think of it in that way. Yeah, and that's all we have time for. But thank you guys for sitting down for 40 minutes.